Hello, Amanda Lashbell here from B4 Networks. Last month I gave a presentation at MSP Flow Conference. That was a conference dedicated to talking about an automation, and my talk centered on ROI and how you can consider it and calculate it as an MSP that maybe doesn't have a dedicated technician team, because pulling your team out of being billable can kind of be a scary thing for an MSP to contemplate. So often what happens is that any kind of automations have to be justified or explained by an owner or a service manager to get sign off, or someone just goes amok and does what they would like to do, which if you have somebody you can trust is wonderful, but there are lots of people that may not have the business sense to be able to working on the right things. So this process helps not only train technicians on how to consider ROI, so you can maybe widen the scope of who can be working on automations, but it also allows for better tracking and understanding of what automations are being worked on in your organization at any given time. So I tried to show a demo during my talk, and my talk will actually probably get released at some point. I'm not sure what Rewst is doing with the videos from the conference, but this is just like a high level overview of what I talked about. My talk was much more in depth, but the demo that I tried to show kept crashing, so I promised I'd make a video later just highlighting what it was that we built and share it out. So that's what I'm doing today. So the process is something that actually lives in our internal ticketing system, which is Halo, but it calls out to Rewst. Halo runs the ticket flow, but then Rewst is used in the background to do the business math. And then there is some part of what we do that exists within Halo as well. So I'll just kind of walk through that. So if a ticket meets the ROI requirements that we have set internally, it gets automatically approved to be worked on. The priority, however, of what gets worked on first depends entirely on the values in the rest of the form. So we have one set of values that determine the impact automatically based on current ticket volume for the category chosen, and the backlog of time on those tickets for any open tickets. And then the second set of values determines the urgency, and that's based on our internal set values that consider things like creating consistency, saving time, strategy, security, stickiness, all the things that we find important, and we've got different weighting based on that. And that's part of our internal training to teach our technicians what our version of that is. But any ticket that doesn't get approved automatically, it's not rejected. It just has to wait for a review. So it kind of goes into a holding pattern so that the use case can be determined by management. This way we're not declining ideas that maybe might be great, but that we don't understand right away, or that the business math doesn't cover. We can sit down and work out the use case and talk to the person who came up with the idea about where it is they see it going, because they might not have judged it properly or be communicating the value. And sometimes technicians also just want to work on something that is important to them, that the numbers may not align, and that's okay. It's part of a greater conversation, right? So as promised, this is the demo. This has something that's only available if you are an internal B4 Networks employee opening a ticket, and all of the values that you see here. So the category is directly related to the categories that are currently in our tickets, so it's pulling from the live data, and then every other value here is something that we have determined as a goal or factors somehow into the Rewst business math being done on the back end. We ask, how much time is it going to take to build the automation? How much time does it take to complete the task? How many times do we do this task in any given amount of time? And then we again set the values for stickiness, consistency, engagement, strategy, and security. The note section is obviously just to describe for anybody who might have questions about it, what exactly this is going to do. Obviously this workflow is stacked to be able to say yes, so I could show the workflow itself. And so when it's done, it's doing that call out to Rewst, and if you refresh, it will say whether or not it was approved. In this case here, it very much was approved. And then it also includes the results from the math so that you can see visually for yourself what the determination was and where it belongs. And then that way, as things get working, that's trackable data. So hopefully that helps. I really wish that would have shown on the day of, but I'm really excited for deploying this and making sure that my staff has full clarity on what it is that they can work on, and they don't need to worry about getting my approval. But I also know and have the comfort that numbers are being tracked properly and that we're keeping profitability at the front of our mind.